Hi, very good morning. I'm Dr. Janak Patel. Today I'm starting with a new series that is endocrine system. I'm not an endocrinologist. I'm just a general physician. Whatever is my knowledge at present, I'm sharing with you. So if there are any mistake, please pardon me. So let us start with introductory part of endocrine system. So there are a lot of endocrine organs which are present in our body, and there are a lot of tissue which also performs the function of endocrine system. So we'll be dealing with the introductory part of endocrine system. So we'll be talking on introduction, different terminology, function of endocrine system, different types of hormones, regulation of hormone system, what are the types of disorders you can come across, investigations and treatment in general. Now, if you look at the body functions are regulated by two major systems. One, nervous system, and second, hormonal system, or we call endocrine system. So these are the two systems which regulates our body. Nervous system is for short-term crisis, while endocrine system is for long-term ongoing metabolic regulation. So it regulates long-term ongoing metabolic regulating system. Now, what is the relation between nervous system and endocrine system? Hypothalamus controls endocrine activity by hypothalamic hypophyseal system. And in hypothalamus, there are neuronal cells, but they perform the function of secreting hormones. That's why they are called neurosecretory cells or neuroendocrine cells. And they synthesize and secretes the hormone which we call as neurohormones or neuroendocrine hormones. This particular hormones controls anterior pituitary and they secretes the hormones from posterior pituitary. So there is one axis we call as the hypothalamic hypophyseal system or tracts. So hormone is synthesized and secreted by hypothalamic neuronal cells or neurosecretory cells, and they go to posterior pituitary by nervous connections, and it is stored there, and whenever there is a stimulus they are released from posterior pituitary. Here posterior pituitary does not synthesize those hormones, they are synthesized in hypothalamus, and there are two nucleus we call supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus. They secrete those hormones, and name of those hormones are ADH and oxytocin, and they are transported via nervous connections, that is hypothalamic hypophyseal tract, into posterior pituitary, and whenever there is a stimulus they are released. There is another system which helps the secreted hormones from hypothalamic area or hypothalamic nucleus, and they are secreted directly into the bloodstream, and they have got effect on an anterior pituitary, and that we call as a hypothalamic hypophyseal portal circulation. So the hormone produced in hypothalamus, they are secreted out, they are transported from hypothalamus to anterior pituitary by vascular connections, that is we call as a portal circulation, and they are either releasing hormone or inhibitory hormones. So they are releasing a hormone from anterior pituitary, or they inhibit the secretion of hormone from anterior pituitary. These are the two systems which are connecting hypothalamus to anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. So these are the different types of cells which are present in hypothalamus. They secrete the hormone. This, whatever hormones are secreted by neuronal connection, it is transported to the posterior pituitary, stored here, and whenever there is a stimulus, they are released into a bloodstream. So this is called hypothalamo, hypophyseal neuronal tract. And these are the different types of cells. They secrete the hormone. Those hormones are transported via the portal system. They go to the anterior pituitary. They either stimulate or they inhibit the anterior pituitary cells. And this is called hypothalamo, hypophyseal portal circulation. So this is the main endocrine system which controls lot of organs. Now you can see here the nervous system gives a stimulus, but it will go to a one particular group of cells or one particular cell. So it is called point to point control, and it is a rapid control. It is a very fast control. And nervous control is electrical in nature. It is a transmission of an electrical impulse. So that is what we call as the nervous system. It is like when you give a ring to a one particular number, it will go to only one particular phone. So this is the basic pattern of what we call as a nervous system. While in an endocrine system, it is like you are announcing or you are transmitting the impulse from a one pole. It will go to many pole. It is a group of a gland which have got no ducts. They secrete hormones, and these hormones are secreted directly into the blood, or they are secreted into extracellular fluids. And most of the hormone circulates in the blood and comes in contact with the cell, and they will give rise to a response. So this is the endocrine cell. They secrete the hormone, they enter into the bloodstream, and they will act on a cell, all cell, but they will have an effect on the cell which has got a receptor. So this cell has got a receptor, so this cell will respond. Well, this cell does not have a receptor, this cell will not respond. So depending upon the specific receptor cells, so they will have a effect, and those cells are called target cells. This is the basic pattern of endocrine system. Now there are different words which are being utilized in an endocrine system. We call sender, means the cell which sends the impulse. What is a signal? Signal is by means of a secreting hormone. These hormones, they combine with a serum protein. We call it a serum hormone binder. This is a non-destructive medium. This particular will be transmitted and will go to a target organ. So it goes to a selective receiver. We call receptor protein. And over that receptor protein, there are what are we call as a receptors. And these receptors are nothing else but receptor protein, which will produce transducer. And these transducers are transducer protein, or they are called secondary messenger. And those secondary messenger will either amplify or will inhibit. So amplification is they will amplify the transducer effects, or they will produce effector enzymes. And these effector proteins, they are nothing else but effector enzymes. And the response is in the form of production of a secondary hormone or direct cellular response. These are all the terminology which are being utilized in an endocrine system. So endocrine system will broadcast the hormonal message to all cell, but all cell will not respond. The cell which has got a specific receptor will give a response. So using a secretion into the bloodstream and extracellular fluid, it will go to a cell. It requires a receiver. So that is we call it a receptor. So it will combine with a receptor, and then it will produce a response. And this is the pattern of what we call as an endocrine system. Now there are different cells. So say this is a cell, this is a B cell, this is a C cell. Now if there is an hormone which is secreted A, now this hormone is having this type of pattern. So it will combine with this receptor only. So this hormone will combine here, but this hormone cannot attach to these cells. it can get attached to this. So this particular cell has got a receptor for only hormone A. This has got a receptor for both hormone A and B. Well, this cell has got only receptor for hormone B. So this will not respond to A hormone. This will not respond to hormone B. So that is a typical pattern what you come across in a case of a endocrine system. Or some cell may not have any receptor. So they will not respond to either hormone A or hormone B. So endocrine system, what does it do? A given hormone usually affects only limited number of cells. We call that as a target cells. And target cells will respond depending upon the receptor protein for that particular hormone. Clear? Now, what is hormone? Hormone is a chemical substance that are secreted by special cells, and they will have effect on a distant organ we call as a target organs. They are basically of three patterns, three chemical nature. One, simple amino acid which are derived from tyrosine, and classical example of this which is derived from a tyrosine amino acid is thyroid hormone and catecholamines. So T3, T4 and catecholamines are the two hormones which are simple amino acids, while which are derived from protein or from polypeptides or from glycoproteins is hypothalamic releasing inhibitory factors. So these are the protein hormones, or we call polypeptide, or we call glycoproteins hormones, and these are secreted from hypothalamus, which are either releasing factor or inhibitory factors. Also hormone released from pituitary, they belong to protein, polypeptide or glycoprotein, parathyroid hormone, pancreatic hormone, and even thyrocalcitonin, which is secreted from thyroid hormone, thyroid gland. These are all protein hormones or polypeptide or glycoproteins. So lot of hormones which belongs to the protein groups, or we call polypeptide group or glycoprotein groups. While steroid hormones, they are synthesized from cholesterol, and they are secreted from adrenal gland, gonads, and vitamin D itself is a steroid hormones. So there are three hormones: adrenal cortical hormones, gonadal hormones, and vitamin D. While there are a lot of hormones which are belonging to the protein groups, we call polypeptides and glycoprotein groups, and they are from hypothalamus, pituitary, parathyroid, pancreas, and thyrocalcitonin. While amino acid is only two hormone, that is thyroid hormone and catecholamine, and in thyroid only two, T3, T4. So these are the chemical nature of those hormones. So these are protein and polypeptides. These are steroid hormones. They are manufactured from cholesterol, and tyrosine hormones, or derived from simple amino acids, that is thyroid hormones, and catecholamines. So these are what we call as three groups of hormones, three basic groups of hormones. Is that clear? Now these protein hormones will act on a receptor on a cell surface and produce a secondary messengers, while these steroid hormones will enter inside in the cell and will produce primary messengers, and they will have effect on transcription and translation, while catecholamine hormones will be acting on the target cells, and this will be the way these different hormones will be acting. So endocrine system together with nervous system acts as a communicating network. It is composed of various endocrine glands and endocrine cells. It will produce, synthesize and release chemical messengers we call as a hormones. Now these particular hormones are secreted by a specialized cell. They are secreted in a very, very low concentration because they have got a very good effect on the target cells. They are secreted by the same cells, then we call it the autocrine effects. If it produces effect on the adjacent cells, we call paracrine influence, and if it acts on a remote cells, distant cell, we call hormonal influence. So these are the three words which are being utilized. And these are all the different groups of endocrine system: hypothalamus, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, thymus, adrenal, ovary and gonads, we call testes and ovaries, pancreas, digestive tracts, kidney, adipose tissue, heart, pineal gland, parathyroid gland, plus there are many more which are also secreting endocrine hormones, and they take parts in endocrine system. So this is what we call as the endocrine system. Even heart secretes one hormone we call as a ANP, atrial natriuretic peptide. Liver also produces one hormone we call somatomedins, insulin-like growth factor. Adipose tissue, leptin, kidney, erythropoietin. So these are all the different structures which also contains endocrine tissue. Plus they also perform the function of many other exocrine function also. Some of those also performs. But the major endocrine glands are hypothalamus, pituitary, and pituitary will have effect on thyroid, thymus, adrenal glands, etc. So this is the main structure which will control pituitary, and pituitary is called as a master gland, and that master gland will act on thyroid, adrenal, gonads, entire body, etc. So now we are dealing with what we call as different terminology. You know, if a chemical material which is secreted directly into the bloodstream and has got an effect on a target cell, we call that as an endocrine system or endocrine hormones. And the material which is secreted, chemical material which is secreted into a lumen and usually has got effect on those different material, we call as those as enzymes, and those we call as an exocrine system. Example, pancreas. So pancreas secretes different enzymes which has got effect on lipids, carbohydrates, proteins, etc. So endocrine system will secrete hormones, and that will maintain internal environment we call homeostasis. It also takes part in body metabolism. It controls energy production, utilization and storage. It takes part in growth and development, that is integration and regulation of growth and development. It controls and maintains sexual reproduction including gametogenesis, fertilization, fetal growth, development and nourishment of the newborn. It also takes part in body response to environmental stimulus. Plus, it also takes part in maintenance of internal homeostasis, supports cell growth, coordinates development, coordinates reproduction, facilitates response to external stimulus. These are all the effect of hormones, or we call action of hormones. So fetal development, cell growth, metabolism, also it takes part in cancer cells development also. Cardiovascular system, renal function, skeletal function, reproductive function, immune, central nervous system function, etc. These are all the different area where it has got effects. There are some words which are utilized: neurocrine system or neuroendocrine system or neurohormones, and these particular are present in hypothalamus. They secrete the hormone and they will have effect on anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. So we have got autocrine. Autocrine means it is secreted and has got effect on the same cell. So that are called as the autocrine cells. Paracrine means nearby cells. This is paracrine. This is autocrine. Secreted, acts on the same cell. Secreted by this cell, acts on a nearby cells, adjacent cells. And secreted and it acts on a distant cell. So it is an endocrine system. So these are the different types of system in endocrine. And there are, we have already told you 3 classical examples, but some people divides into 4 groups: lipids, proteins, peptides and amino acids. So Usually these protein and peptides are same. They belong to the similar groups. So lipids, protein and peptides, and amino acids. These are the three basic groups chemical wise. So the hormones can be classified according to the site of action. Three basic type: local hormones, general hormones, target tissue. So classical example of local hormones we call as acetylcholine, secretin, cholecystokinin. They act locally only. While general hormones, catecholamines, they act in general. Growth hormone acts on multiple cells. Thyroid hormone acts on multiple cells. While target tissue hormones, that is ACTH, will act on only adrenal cortex. Ovarian hormone will act only on ovary. Oxytocin will act on uterus and will act on mammary myoepithelial cells. So these are the three sites: acts locally, acts on multiple cells at multiple areas, and acts on a target tissue or a target organ. So these are the one way of division of a hormone. According to the chemical classification, we already told you: peptides and proteins, amino acids, steroid hormones, and some people also say fatty acid derivatives, that is eikonocytes. So protein hormones, steroid hormones, and amino acids we already mentioned before. Function wise: paracrine, autocrine, and neurocrine. Paracrine acts on the nearby cells. Autocrine acts on the same secreting cells, while neurocrine is secreted by a neural cells. They either act as a neurotransmitter substance or they act as a neurohormonal systems. So these are the three types of hormone which are being secreted. The hormone which is manufactured in a one particular cells, which is a large and inactive, we call it a pre-pro hormone, that is converted into prohormone by post-translation modification, and it is again an inactive pre-hormone which will be further broken down, and then you will get a peptide hormone receptor complex. So that is we call as an active hormone system, and that signals transduction system, and that will act on a target cells. So pre-hormone, pre-prohormone, prohormone, and active hormone, and that particular part is we call as a peptide hormones receptor complex, and that will combine with a receptor, and that will form peptide hormone receptor complex and will stimulate and will produce a response. So these are the three hormones, and this usually you will see in a peptide or a protein hormones. So paracrine, autocrine, neurocrine, and there is also one word used, juxtacrine. So these are the four words which are utilized. We already explained you. Paracrine means acting on adjacent cells. Autocrine means acting on the same cells. And acting on a distant cells we call as an endocrine system or neurocrine system. And juxtacrine means signaling cells and targeting cells are together. Classical example is TGF alpha. TGF alpha. So that is juxtacrine. So that is the way. This is juxtacrine. This is a receptor. This hormone is acting directly here. The cell sit by the sides, and one of the hormone is on the surface and other has got a receptor, that is juxtacrine. But basically we come across three: endocrine, paracrine, and autocrine. Endocrine, neurocrine, paracrine, autocrine. Neurocrine means they secrete the hormone and they act directly on a cell B, while endocrine secretes the hormone, they will act on cell B. Clear? And these cells are in neurons, so that's why they are called neuroendocrine system, and these are there in an endocrine gland, so they are called endocrine system. And this is which acts on a close by cells or adjacent cells we call paracrine, and if it acts on the same cell we call as an autocrine. So these are the different terms which are being utilized. So these are the examples. You can go through this slide at your leisure time, whatever I have explained you, the same thing. Which are the example of these different types of hormones? What are the meaning, description of those, and how does it act? This is autocrine, secreted acting on the same cells. Classical example, prostaglandins, thromboxane A2, prostacyclins, leukotrienes. These are the examples of those hormones. Those are we call as autocrine hormones. While paracrine hormones, these are chemical messenger which will act on a nearby cells. And classical example is histamine, echinocytes, and somatostatin. While neurotransmitter, acetylcholine, epinephrine. So these are secreted by our neurons, and that will be acting at the level of the synapse. And endocrine, which will secrete the hormones, and they will act on a target cells. Classical example, thyroid hormone, growth hormone, insulin, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, prostaglandins, etc. So these are the example. Go through that. How does it produces effect? I am not going into detail. They will be acting on a receptor cells, on a cell receptor, and produce a response, or the hormone will be passing through the cell wall, will go to the cytoplasmic receptor here, or will go through into the nucleus and will have a receptor in a nucleus, and then it produces a response. Or sometime even this cytoplasmic receptor, after combining with a hormone, will go and produce an effect inside into the nucleus, and that particular is in the form of a transcription, which is producing messenger RNA, and that messenger RNA will produce translation and will have a production of a new protein, and that is how you get a response. This is in short what we call as. Go through at leisure time, we will understand what is the exact action of different hormones. This is the action of a steroid hormones. So this is one explanation, and this is another. It will be acting on a nuclear receptor, it will be acting on a membrane, that is a cell wall, and how it acts, that is given. Is it clear? It will activate the gene and it will produce a new protein. Here it will alter the G proteins, and then it will open up the ion channels, and here it will alter the activity of the intracellular enzymes, and then it will be activating the existing enzyme, and it will give rise to a cell response. Now, what are the type of action it will produce? Either it will excite or it will inhibit. So excitatory is also called stimulatory, and which does not stimulate, it decreases the function or it decreases the production, it is called inhibitory. Or it will have an effect on a gene, and by effect on a gene it will produce messenger RNA, and that messenger RNA will stimulate the, I've already shown you here, it will stimulate this what we call as the endoplasmic reticulum to produce a new protein, and that we call as a translation, and that will start producing a new protein. So that will be the effect on the gene. Now sometimes it helps the other hormone to increase the activity, we call synergistic activity. So either it can directly stimulate, or it helps the action of other hormone and increase the effect of that hormone, we call synergistic effect, or it inhibits the action of the other hormone, we call antagonist, and if it helps that particular hormone, it is called agonist. So these are all the different terms which are utilized: excitatory or stimulatory, inhibitory, producing a stimulation of gene, messenger RNA, and producing a new protein. It can have a synergistic effect parallel with that particular hormone. It increases the more effect. It opposes the action. Say like a very simple example of a antagonist hormone is, we call as a glucagon, is antagonist of insulin. So that will be that particular way. So that is an antagonist, and or it can help or increase the action of a hormone, we call agonist. One hormone can have an effect on multiple cells or single cell. Say simple, growth hormone will have an effect on multiple cells, muscle, fat, bone, gonads, etc. So that is multiple site of action. Or say one single ovarian hormone has got effect on one particular organs only, one particular group of cells only. So that will be there. Or one cell can have an effect by one hormone only. Say thyroid cells, thyroid gland cells is affected by only TRH, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. While one group of cells can have an effect by multiple groups of hormones. So this will be the different types. Hormone can have effect on single cell or multiple cells, and one cell can have effect by only one hormone because it has got only one receptor, one group of receptor. Or if a cell has got multiple types of receptor, it can be affected by multiple hormones. So these are the different types of action what you can come across in a case of hormones. So you can have a additive effect like norepinephrine and epinephrine, complementary effect like FSH and testosterone, permissive effects where hormone enhances the responsiveness of the target organ to the second hormone. So that is called permissive effect, and classical example of antagonist effect is insulin and glucagon. So that is antagonist effect. So these are the different examples of different types of effects. Here they are using a different terms. Additive effect you can call as synergistic effect. Agonist effect is a permissive effect. Permissive effect. Clear? And an antagonist effect. So these are all the different terms. Regulation of hormone production and action is done by endocrine activity. Positive feedback system, negative feedback system, or by cyclical control, we call it circadian rhythm or chronotropic effects, or by neurological control. Basically, hypothalamus controls by neurological control. It controls anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary, which has got effect on multiple endocrine organs, and they are controlled by positive feedback or by negative feedback. As well as hypothalamus is controlled by many stimulating factor, inhibitory factors. So that is how the regulation is taking place. We are giving some of the example. Say secretion of a regulatory hormone to control the activity of an anterior pituitary is secreted by hypothalamus. By hypophyseal portal system, they are releasing factor or a inhibitory factors. They will have an effect on a anterior pituitary. So hormones secreted by the anterior pituitary is controlled by hypothalamus, and they will have effect on other endocrine organs. While what we call as a supraoptic nucleus and paraventricular nucleus of hypothalamus will produce ADH and oxytocin. It is released, it is stored in posterior pituitary, and whenever there is a stimulus, these will be released into a bloodstream. ADH will have effect on a kidney, and oxytocin will have effect on a mammary gland and on what we call as a uterus. This will be the target organs. While sympathetic system, which is present in hypothalamus, will have a direct effect via sympathetic system into adrenal medulla, and via acting on an adrenal medulla, it will stimulate production of epinephrine and norepinephrine. And this epinephrine and norepinephrine will have an effect on target systems like heart, peripheral blood vessels, etc. So these are some of the examples of how one particular endocrine system is acting on another endocrine system. So this is roughly one example how it is regulated. Hypothalamus secretes the hormone, releasing factor and inhibitory factor has got effect on anterior pituitary. This anterior pituitary has got effect on target organs. Say we give one simple example, thyroid gland or adrenal gland. This particular target glands secretes trophic hormones, which will have negative feedback mechanism inhibiting hormone secretion from anterior pituitary. Say T3T4 will inhibit TSH production. Very clear? So this is thyroid gland secreting T3T4 will have inhibitory effect on anterior pituitary gland, and that will inhibit the production of a TSH, as well as this will also secrete T3T4 which will inhibit TRH. So these are called hormone feedback mechanism. Hormone to hormone feedback mechanism. Clear? This is called short loop. This is called long loop. And these target organs will secrete the substrate or will have effect on some tissue which will produce mineral. So mineral will have a feedback mechanism and control the target organs, or will have a substrate and that will control the target organs. Say as for example, a target gland hormone is say parathormone that will act on a bone, will produce calcium, and this calcium will have a excitatory effect or inhibitory effect on that target glands. So hypocalcemia will stimulate parathyroid to produce more hormones, and hypercalcemia will inhibit the production of a parathormone. So this is roughly the regulation. There are three basic mechanisms of hormone release. One, humoral mechanism in response to changing level of ions or nutrients in the blood. Neural stimulation, that is by nerve. This is neural stimulation. Classical example of that is adrenal medullary hormone secretions, that is we call as a noradrenaline, adrenaline, or norepinephrine, epinephrine, and that we call as a catecholamines. This is neural stimulation, and this is humoral stimulation, that is TSH. TSH will stimulate the thyroid gland, or say you give an example, calcium level stimulates the thyroid gland. Clear? Posterior view. Either thyrocalcitonin or parathyroid is being stimulated. Parathormone will be released, which will elevate the calcium, and that is how the parathormone secretion takes place. This is humoral stimulation, that is by means of ions or a nutrients material, say like glucose. Hypoglycemia will stimulate glucagon, and hyperglycemia will stimulate insulin. So that is humoral stimulation. Neural stimulation, this is the example, and hormonal stimulation, classical example is hypothalamus stimulating anterior pituitary. So these are the three classical way in which the hormonal release is there. Humoral, classical example, parathyroid gland, insulin, glucagon. Those are the examples of humoral. Neural, classical example, adrenal medulla, and thyroid gland, anterior pituitary, adrenal cortex are the example of hormonal stimulation. There are three basic patterns of secretions of hormone. One, pulsatile secretions. Second, rapid increase in hormone level for a short period of time, and cyclical response. These are the example. This is pulsatile. Secretion, plateau. Again secretion, plateau. Secretion, plateau. This is pulsatile secretions. This is acute. Sharp increase, then there is no more further secretions. And cyclical secretions at regular interval. You can see this interval changing. And this is classical example, that is FSH, LH, estrogen, etc. secretions are classical example of cyclical secretions. This particular is during what we call as a reproductive hormones during ovulatory cycle. during ovulatory cycle. While this acute secretions is a stress hormone secretions. Stress hormone secretions. During our spike will take place only during stress. Classical example, TSH secretions, or also you can call as a catecholamine secretions. Those will be acute secretion. Now this is that basic concept of endocrine control. Hypothalamus will secrete the hormones we call as a trophic hormone, which will have an effect on the anterior lobe. Anterior lobe will now secrete the hormone which will have an effect on the target organs. And this particular will have negative feedback and can inhibit the anterior lobe. So that is anterior pituitary. This is called short lobe. And when it same hormone inhibits hypothalamus, it is called as a long lobe. It is called as a long lobe. So this is negative feedback. Long lobe, short lobes. And when it is a shorter than that also, then it is called ultra short loop feedback mechanism. So these are the different ways in which you get inhibition of the hormone production. And we have already told you that there are two basic mechanisms: neural control, hormonal control, and humoral control. So these are the three basic mechanisms which stimulates hormonal, humoral, and neural. And feedback control, long lobe, short lobe, ultra short lobe. This is short lobe. This is long lobe. And when anterior pituitary hormone inhibits hypothalamus, this is ultra short lobe. If this inhibits this, it is ultra short lobe. When the release of a hormone from a target organ, that is hormone 3, inhibits hormone 1, that is long lobe, inhibits hormone 2, that is short lobe, and anterior pituitary hormones inhibits hypothalamus itself, then it is called ultra short lobe. This is what we call as a negative feedback. Stimulus inhibits negative feedback. Initial stimulus, response, there is an increased stimulus and that produces an increased response we call as a positive feedback cycle. Usually an outside factor requires to shut off this feedback cycle, and that will be the treatment part in a case of this increased stimulus variety we call as a positive feedback mechanism. Now this is one diagram which will be showing you again and again. These are all the hormones which are secreted by a hypothalamus. They are having an effect on a anterior pituitary, either excitatory or inhibitory effects, and they will have an effect on the target organs. These are all the target organs, and from that target organs they will have effect on a many tissue, etc. So these are the further cells, target cells we call. So that is how the effect takes place, and this is the exact mechanism of action of endocrine system. So we'll be talking about this when we talk of hypothalamus, when we talk of different hormones in anterior pituitary, posterior pituitary, etc. We'll be talking of all this, and then we'll be talking of individual endocrine organs. Now, what are the different types of disorders you can come across? You can have a normal secretion, we call EU, youth stage, or normal secretion stage, we call euthyroid. If there is an increased production, we call hypersecretions. Hyper, we always use the word hyper, and then depending upon the organ, hyperadrenalism, hyperthyroidism, that way, and depending upon that way, or you can have a hyposecretions. If there is an increased size of the cells and number of cells, we call hyperplasia, that will have a hypersecretions. If there is an increased group of cells collecting together to become a tumor like cells, we call adenoma, and if they get converted into a malignant cells, we call adenocarcinoma. So these three are the most common pathophysiology for increased hypersecretion in an endocrine system: hyperplasia, adenoma, adenocarcinoma. Sometimes you got a multiple endocrine organs becoming adenomatous, multiple endocrine adenomatosis. So you got a 2 or 3 endocrine system having adenoma, and that produces hyperproduction. So it will have a multiple endocrine hypersecretions. Or you can have a tissue which is present in an other area, say as for example in a bronchogenic carcinoma. Those cells starts producing a hormone which is an ectopic hormones, and then we call that as a ectopic production of a hormone, and this will happen in a certain malignancy, particularly classical example bronchogenic carcinoma. Or a person is being given a hormone replacement therapy and it is in excess of the action, or person get excessive action, and then it starts producing a symptom signs of hypersecretion, we call iatrogenic. So these are the common examples. This is called neoplastic syndrome, ectopic production. So it can be from teratoma cells, from bronchogenic carcinoma, etc. We'll be talking in individual endocrine glands. So these are all the common etiology which you will see very frequently. All this will fit in hyperproductions. While in hyperproduction, if there is a destruction of the cell either by surgery or by radiation or because of some genetic factors, sometimes even genetic factor comes in hypersecretions, or because of autoimmune mechanisms, or because of infection and inflammation, or because the drugs which blocks the secretions of that particular endocrine system, person will go into what we call as a hyposecretion stage. So this is a just general idea. So there will be two common mechanisms we call as a hypersecretion, hyposecretions. Here there is a destruction of the cell, so the size of the endocrine tissue will decrease. Here the size will increase, and because of increase in the size, this will have effect of tumor effects. So that will be very common. Now if a primary organ starts producing increased production, say as for example thyroid gland produces more hormone, we call as a primary thyroid disorders. But suppose thyroid gland is affected by another hormone secretions, and there is an overproduction of that hormone, say there is an overproduction of hormone by anterior pituitary or by hypothalamus, we call that as a secondary. Now tertiary word is almost gone. Tertiary was utilized for hypothalamic overproduction, which will produce more in anterior pituitary, which will have effect on a primary target organs, and then it was called as a tertiary, and overproduction by pituitary was called secondary. Now this tertiary word is usually not commonly utilized. Now they call primary and secondary. Primary means primary target organ, and secondary means the organ which stimulates the primary organ. Say as for example, in hyperproduction of adrenal cortex hormone, basically because of adrenal pathophysiology like adrenal hyperplasia or adrenal gland adenoma or adrenal adenocarcinoma, we call as a primary. And if it is because of an increased production of ACTH hormone by anterior pituitary, then we call as a secondary cause or secondary disorders. So this is the terminology. So this is that hypofunction, hyperfunction. Hyperfunction is because of hyperplasia, ectopic production, or iatrogenic, or degradation of hormone can take place by different tissue. If this degradation is blocked, you block that degradation, hormone level will increase, that will be responsible for hyperfunction. This is the example of a drug effects. Is it clear? Or sometimes antibody stimulates the overproduction, and that gives rise to, this is pathophysiology. So that gives rise to increased production of a hormone. and that will have an increased response on a target cells. Or there is a tissue damage, and then because of that there is a increased response on a remaining cells. You get that hyperfunctions. While hyperfunction is destruction or a block of a gland, destruction can be because of radiation, surgery, or because of inflammation, autoimmune disorders, etc. Or you block the release of that hormone by a drug, or there is a release of a pro-hormone, or the degradation is stimulated. So there is a destruction of the hormone very fast in a blood, or there is an antibody which is antagonist, and that produces blockage and decrease production of a hormone, or there is a tissue damage and tissue does not produce effect, or there is a peripheral tissue resistance. These are all the conditions which will produce hypofunction. So this is an example which is showing you a primary and secondary. Primary means basic gland which does not produce a hormone, or there is a decreased production or an increased production. So that is called primary disorder. If it is because of other organ, say the hypothalamus produces increased CRH, there will be increased ACTH, there will be increased adrenal cortical hormone. This is secondary. Ideally, initially this was called tertiary, this was secondary, and this was primary. Now this tertiary word is gone. Both this organ, if it produces, this is put into secondary. Same way, decreased production of anterior pituitary, decreased production. This is increased production of ACTH, increased production. This is again secondary. This is again secondary. So this will inhibit hypothalamus. This is also considered as secondary. So these two examples, either by anterior pituitary or by hypothalamus, are put into the same group. We call as a secondary. While if it is only by adrenal cortex, then it is called primary. So tertiary word is gone. So this is that particular. Now if from outside you give an hormone which inhibits ACTH, which inhibits CRH, and it has got direct effect on a target tissue producing a response, it also inhibits the adrenal cortex. Now if this medication level is more, it will produce increased response. We'll call as exogenous medication producing a response, we call iatrogenic. This also simultaneously inhibits this structure, that is hypothalamus, also inhibits anterior pituitary, and also because of decreased production of ACTH, adrenal cortex is also inhibited, and because of inhibition of this adrenal cortex, this undergoes hypertrophy or atrophy of the gland. Now if you stop this suddenly, there is no production of cortisol, and if there is no production of cortisol, the person will go into sudden adrenal crisis, and this is what you should pay attention while withdrawing the exogenous glucocorticoids. This is the example of hypothalamic pituitary axis. If there is a decreased production of a hypothalamus, that will have effect on the anterior pituitary, and all those hormone production will also decrease. So if a person has got decreased production of hypothalamus, it will produce hypopituitarism, and this hypopituitarism will have effect on all the target organs, producing decreased production of those target hormones. Now investigation wise, the commonest investigation what is required is a good history, good physical examination, and systemic examination. The best way of identifying the condition is hormone level assay, we call. There are two types of hormone which will be present in the blood: a free hormone, or in combination with what we call as transport material. Either it is a transport protein or some other material. So we call it a total hormone assay, free hormone assay. So try to estimate both. Free is active, a combination with other may not be active. You do a radiological study or radionucleotide study to identify the size of organ, enlarge, hyperplasia, adenoma, adenocarcinoma, etc. You can identify by doing a radiological studies. So radiological study will give you an idea regarding those particular, and it will also give you an idea regarding uptake of a material by that particular organ. So it is a functioning hormone or a non-functioning hormone, non-functioning gland. And you will also do the investigation for the effect of a hormone on a target organs, say like calcium level, effect on bone, that way. And to identify whether the organ is functioning or not, you will do a stimulation test when it is a hypofunction, and you will do inhibition test when there is an hyperfunction. All this will depend upon what is the clinical conditions and what are the hormone levels, and try to identify those. So functional diagnosis can be done by history, physical examination, laboratory study, and screening for endocrine disease. Pathological diagnosis is done by biopsy. So it is a hyperplasia, adenoma, adenocarcinoma, etc. can be diagnosed only by pathophysiology. So that is by pathology. And etiological diagnosis, you will have to do immunological study, that is antigen, antibody, etc. Or you want to identify it is a genetic, so you will have to do the gene study, or you will have to do a chemical examinations like effect on the target organs and chemical examinations. You can do a basal level, you can do a stimulation test, you can do a inhibitory test to identify whether it is a hyperfunctioning, hypofunctioning, and you want to identify the size, type of disorders, and that is by imaging studies and biopsy procedures. As far as the treatment part is concerned, in case of a hyposecretion, main treatment is what we call the replacement therapy. So to replace the hormone from outside. While in a hypersecretion, one is you have to give a drug which will block the secretion, or you can go for a radiotherapy, or you can go for surgery. Sometimes in a case of hyposecretion, depending upon the effect on the target organ, you can give a symptomatic treatment, or you can use some other method of treatment to decrease the effect of hyposecretion on a target cells. Here I end my lecture. So this is just the introduction of an endocrine system. We'll be dealing with now individual organs as we go to the next lecture. I hope this is very useful to